Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, and if you're wondering, there was no Tuesday devotion. I just didn't feel well after my booster shot, so we skipped it. Sue me, right? But we're back today, and today we look at Matthew 21, verses 1 through 11, maybe. When they had come near Jerusalem and had reached Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this, 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, who said, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road. Others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed him were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven." When he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" And the crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." Here we have an example of something that's written in the prophets influencing what Matthew writes. All the Gospels tell the story of Jesus coming into Jerusalem and riding on a borrowed donkey, right? But here it's a donkey and a colt, because the prophet said that the king would be coming mounted on a donkey and on a colt. The Hebrews poetry, the style of Hebrew poetry is to say everything twice in parallel. Right? Go look at the prophets anywhere. Go look at the Proverbs. It always says everything twice. And so you can't just say it. You have to say it and then repeat it in different words. And that's a part of the art of the poet. And so the prophet does that. He says he's going to be riding on a donkey and on a foal, the colt of a donkey. Or a colt, the foal of a donkey. Anyway, it's twice. And so you get Jesus coming in, Matthew says, riding on the backs of these 2 animals. I always picture him like a circus performer standing, the 2 animals are side by side, and he's got 1 foot on each animal standing up holding the reins. I don't think that's how it was. I think Matthew is taking a little liberty there, and I think Matthew is influenced by the prophet that he's referring to. Matthew likes to tie everything back to the Old Testament prophecies. All the time he's saying this is to fulfill, and he gives you a little quote. And so that's what happens here. They borrow this donkey from somebody, and Jesus gets on it and rides into town. Well, he does that to fulfill this prophecy. Obviously, your king is coming on a donkey. We've all heard it said that, kings that rode in on a horse were coming to conquer, but kings that rode a donkey were coming in peace. Could be true. If not, then 1,000,000 sermons need to be rewritten, including some of mine, right? So he comes in on this donkey. The crowd sees this as important, and the crowd begins to shout, Hosanna, which means help us. Hosanna to the Son of David. Now, my whole life I thought Hosanna was sort of a praise word from the Old Testament, but it actually means help us, aid us, come to us and give us support. And so to understand it in any other way is simply to misunderstand it. It means, we're crying out for help. Hosanna, Hosanna, Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. So we've taken that and used it in the communion liturgy for centuries in the church. But here what you've got are these people crying out for help. And again, if you see the movies, sometimes you see these crowds of thousands of people. Well, they would have been coming into Jerusalem for the festival, so there is a crowd coming along, walking along, that he's a part of. But some more recent films have shown him with far fewer people. I think it was Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie, where he's got about 25 people out there, crowded around him shouting. So that's kind of interesting. It wasn't this gigantic crowd. It was just a smaller group, I think. Everything was smaller than we think in those days. Everything was smaller. And then the whole city says, well, who is this guy? What's happening? What's happening? They hear this turmoil and they want to know what's up. And said, well, this is Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee, and he's come. Now we'll pick up there tomorrow and see what he does when he gets into town. And this is the text for Palm Sunday. It's called the Triumphal Entry. Well, it was an entry. It wasn't all that triumphal. I suppose it was. Anyway, that's what we call it. And we're getting close to the crucifixion and the things that wind up Jesus' ministry here. So hang on for the ride, and we'll see you tomorrow.